how intense that is, I think there's nothing to compare it to.
Hi there, Frye there. Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Branstetter, founder and podcast producer of MaxPodcasting. And you can email me at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. This is episode 195, which is 5 away from 200 and is also 5 away from 190. But that's neither here nor there. And today's guest is the one and only Channing Frye. Channing is one of my favorite people of all time, and we'll get to that in the interview. But you know him as a 14-year NBA player who, of course, won the 2016 championship with the Cleveland Cavaliers, breaking the 52-year championship drought for my favorite city of Cleveland. He also is the co-host of one of my favorite podcasts, Road Trippin, along with Richard Jefferson and Allie Clifton. And after his NBA career, he got more and more into the wine industry and is now the founder and owner of Chosen Family Wines, a super cool and just delightful wine company out of Oregon and sourcing from Willamette Dammit Valley, shout out Nicole, and beyond. In this episode, we talk everything behind the scenes from the historic best championship ever, the Cavs championship run in 2016. What made that team click, what made that team get over the hump and get that title, as well as the story of Road Trippin, which I can't recommend enough. And, of course, what is involved in starting a wine brand, growing a wine brand, and what Chosen Family Wines is all about. It is the Channing, the myth, the legend. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with the lead singer of the Grammy Award-winning group Frye's Guys, Channing Frye, NBA champion. We'll call him championship winemaker, championship podcast host, one of my favorite Cleveland people, athletes, entrepreneurs of all time. Channing, this is a real dream come true. You're someone I've wanted to interview since I started this podcast, and we'll explain why in a minute. But thank you so much for coming on. How you doing today?
Yeah, great. Just sitting in my buddy's house in San Francisco. I have 4 kids. He has 4 kids. So we've been keeping them. I had to do 2 podcasts this morning. So we've been herding them to the other side of the house, which is kind of hard. But it's been good, man. Just, doing work, doing these type of things is fun. It's always getting to know new people and new people getting to know me.
Yeah, exactly. And apologies in advance to the listeners for getting to know Channing more, because there's a lot of just awful, boring stories. He's got no personality. He's got no fun things in his history. No. But we're going to get to lots of really fun and non-boring things that you've done in your career. But I want to start out by just saying I'm endlessly grateful for you for a couple reasons. I mean, more than 2, but we'll focus on 2 today. One is the first podcast I ever listened to was Road Trippin'. And it was that first episode with
Kyrie,
Richard, Allie, and Kyrie, which I know is a whole other story. But it really clicked something in my brain of how cool it was to hear from guys like you and people in the NBA who we previously had never had that access before. And then I think one of the main takeaways was like, wow, these, they're just normal guys. They just happen to play basketball for a living. And they have, it's so entertaining and inspiring what they're talking about. And it literally, I felt like I was sitting there in the locker room or in the hotel room or in the plane with you. So I had never experienced anything like that. And here we are. And I've listened to your, at the time of this recording, nearly 200 episodes. And it's been a big inspiration in me starting this podcast and then me ultimately starting a podcast production business. So thank you for that. That's one.
Do you actually, okay. So first, thank you so much. Have you ever heard the story of how actually we even got to that point? Like how even it was Richard, Allie, Kyrie, and myself. For people who are not listening, I wasn't involved. I didn't want to do a damn podcast.
Who does? I mean, how are we here today?
Yeah. So Richard was like, well, I need to practice. I want to go into TV. Like Channing, you've you're way more, he even was like, you're way better talker. I need to practice my cadence and stuff like that. So I was like, he was like, I'm gonna do a podcast with Allie with our teammates. And so I was like, all right, cool. I was like, but you got to bring some wine up there so we could talk and, shoot the shit. So we didn't have a room that we all wanted to go into because all of ours are small. So the biggest room is the trainer's room. So we have one microphone, and we had to put it in the middle of, like, where you put your feet on an L couch and duct tape it to a wine glass.
Oh my
right?
God. Wait, duct tape? Like you actually used duct tape for that
Well,
first
because it kept moving around, right? So it kept moving around. So I'm not taking this seriously. I'm eating M&Ms and stuff. And Richard and Allie are like, dude, stop eating freaking M&Ms. We can hear it on the mic. We're talking and just kind of, like I would say, just kind of shooting it. And Kyrie comes in because he's going to get treatment. And so he's like, oh, what are y'all doing? And we're like, yeah, we're just shooting this podcast. He's like, can I be on it? We're like, dude, yeah. So I scooted over from being the guest to being one of the hosts. And then Kyrie came on once, twice. He was our biggest person. And then we started doing it on airplanes. And then we were like, okay, this is getting bigger than what we thought it was. Because at the time, nobody was interviewing players and still winning basketball games, right? But we kept trying to tell people, even the Draymond thing, like, he has 15 hours of the day to do nothing, and he takes 30 minutes to do his podcast in his room. Like, we were doing it and drinking wine and eating burgers, and like, it was chill. But it's evolved a lot, and I'm happy to see where podcasts are nowadays, and that people get to hear from us what we really think, not like somebody assuming.
Yeah, I should have put duct tape on this mic, just like just to pay homage to what you did in that first episode. But yeah, it's really cool. Like that's the insight that really struck me, was like, I had just never heard anything like this before. You know how it is. Like when you see interviews with with like the press and NBA players, like you only see it on ESPN and the major networks, and everything you see is just over TV or maybe some radio interviews. But like, we had never seen anything that like the players created themselves, and it literally felt like it took you inside the locker room. And then you notoriously had Richard's good friend Bill Walton come on, which is a whole, I still think is one of the most all-time entertaining, fascinating episodes.
Richard said
ever.
2 words that whole episode. Bill can talk your ear off.
He can. He's taken over this interview, but it was it was an amazing run. Like, I feel like you guys with that Cavs team just added something. It was Richard's Snapchat, and then it was the podcast, and then you added, like, there's so many different things that just like helped towards the camaraderie of that team. So, but that's the second thing I'm endlessly grateful for, is obviously thank you for being a big part in ending the Cleveland championship drought, which lasted from when my mom was 1 year old to to 2016. She's from Cleveland, born and raised, so that's kind of Cleveland ties go a little bit back there. But
thank you.
How does it feel when the buzzer strikes 0 and you realize for that first millisecond, holy shit, we're NBA champions?
So I think, just to like preface this, in the middle of the third quarter, I talked to our trainer and was like, dude, I need to go in the back. I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, my anxiety was through the roof. How intense that is, I think there's nothing to compare it to, right? I think you're in every single moment. The game is going so slow but so fast. And then there are some moments where, like, I'm just like, that's it. We're not going to win. And then I'm like, snap out of it. I can't put the bad juju on us. And I was like, we're definitely going to win. I was like, somebody tell me we're going to win, right? Secondly, when the buzzer hit, I think Maurice Spates shot it. I was like, somebody get the rebound, because I wasn't looking up. So I thought we were down 3. And when he shot it, I was like, somebody contest. And they looked at me, it was like, Channing, we're up 4. And I go, what? And by that time, the buzzer goes. And if you see me, everyone ran to somebody, and I'm looking around for somebody to hug. And it was just like, what? And I tell this story probably too much, but let me tell it one more time.
Yeah, you can, if you want, you can hijack this entire interview with
that.
We'll mix in some wine as well.
Dude, oh yeah, listen. There was plenty of champagne there after that. So my wife was pregnant at the time, and my best friend and my agent now came and got my wife, and I just gave her the biggest hug and gave him a big hug. It had been a wild year, going from one of the worst teams in the NBA to winning one of the greatest championships of all time was wild. And the intensity of that is wild. The expectation of me and my family as well. So I just said thank you to her. We fly to Vegas as a team, party till like 5 in the morning, get on a plane from Vegas, go to Cleveland, get off that. Obviously, probably still having a couple beers just to keep the hangover away. We drive home, and anyone that's heard me ever talk, I always talk about this one little place called Don Ramon's in Westlake. Now, it may not be the best, it's definitely not the worst, but it is my spot, right? I'm from Arizona, so any good Mexican spot, try their green chili pork burrito is amazing. And their margaritas are this big, if you can see how big my hands are.
And for those listening, Channing is holding up both hands, and I don't know.
I have big hands.
I think it was.
Really
I think it was
hands.
about 6 feet across. That's how wide the margarita is.
Maybe no. It felt like 6 feet across.
Almost a foot, though.
I get home. I kiss my wife is now at home. I kiss my babies, and I'm like, baby, I just need a margarita, right? I just need something to eat. I haven't eaten. I need something to eat. I just need to decompress this. So I go to Don Ramon's. I sit in the corner, and the lady daps me up, Channing, congrats, baba. This is on us. Gives me a margarita. And I'm facing this little TV, no bigger probably than our computer. And I see us coming off the plane, right? What just happened an hour ago. And then it hits me. So like, I'm drinking this big old margarita with my championship hat on, crying, like my tears are going back into this margarita because it just hit me. Like the intensity of everything and wanting to be in that moment, like just stopped, right? There is no other game. There's no practice. There's no next thing to look forward to. And imagine we're playing June 22nd. That's a long, so, obviously it takes a toll on your body, your mind, and you're just like, it was over. It was just like, ugh, and then the emotions came out. So that's what I remember most, drinking a margarita and just crying my face off.
Was that the best damn margarita of your life?
Yeah, hell yeah. With the tears of a champion.
Yeah, you can't. That's the secret ingredient. That's the secret sauce.
It's like $50 a margarita, worth it.
Oh man, just to obviously anyone listening knows, and there's many Cleveland people listening. Cleveland fans have a reputation for being just diehard and super passionate, and unbiasedly, I'll say the best fans in the world. But just a little anecdote about that image of you guys coming off the plane and on no sleep and getting your margarita tears ready. My Grandpa Henry, who has since passed in recent years, but shout out Henry. Grandpa Henry is he lived till he was 95, and a lot of what I learned about Cleveland sports and like my passion for Cleveland sports a lot, he was a huge part of that. And as he got older, he loved sending emails to me and the other grandchildren and my parents, but he wasn't so physically able. So he would like dictate what to say to my grandma, and my grandma would type it out and then send it. And I distinctly remember, like the most vivid memory I have of him sending an email, and I spoke about it at the funeral, is, again, an email in like the text is in wine and gold font. Yeah. Like they changed the color of the entire font.
That's awesome.
And it's my grandma typing for him, but it's just in all caps, wine and gold font, like a million exclamation points. We are watching the Cleveland Cavaliers arrive back in Cleveland, step off the plane. Probably something about J.R. Smith's shirt not being on. but
it was not on ever.
To tons of people, an endless sea of people, the Cavs are champions, and that, like, I'll just forever think back to that. But just to give you a little insight of like how much sports means to the city and in that moment, and that's so cool. And I bet you're the best brand ambassador ever for Don Ramon's.
There's some other good spots, man. I think to speak on that, I think if you coming from other cities, right, you feel like you have fans, good fans, great fans. Cleveland fans are by far the most historically passionate fans about sports in general. The Monsters, the Indians, the Bengals, the Browns, the Cavs, the Blue Jackets, the Ohio State, Toledo, Miami of Ohio. It doesn't matter.
I was going to say, Allie was going to kick you off if you didn't include Toledo.
I know. I didn't give her a little Toledo shout out. But like, not only are they informed, but they are loyal and they expect excellence. And so they also want to be seen. And I think that's something that Richard and I noticed early on was like, we could have a great time just going to a dive bar and talking sports with the regular people and just be like, all right, man, end of the night, good talking with you, and then leave. And it wasn't a big deal. And I think the more we did that, the more we felt the heartbeat of the city. And I love Cleveland. So is my family, my wife, all my friends. The food is underrated. The people are extremely underrated. And obviously, y'all got a great beer scene. So for me, it was like everything that I think I needed, that we needed as a group, to not only be motivated, but to feel like you have a responsibility to play and be the best that you can.
If you could sum it up in a nutshell, what was it about that team that got you guys to not only break this, quote unquote Cleveland championship curse, but also, have the most historic, greatest comeback in, at the highest level of all time?
I think sometimes when you look at teams, they're like different bags of nuts. And hear me out here. It's like a whole bag of peanuts, macadamia nuts, almonds, all the same. We were the biggest group of mixed nuts ever. We had raisins in there, we had macadamia nuts, we had Brazil nut, we had every type of nut you could have, but we were all in a jar together, tight knit, like Kyrie, Shump, JR, Kevin, Richard, Braun, Tristan, myself, Mo Williams, Mozgov. Those are big. Mozzie's not a big personality, but like those are some big personalities to all be in a room, but we all held each other accountable. And I just did a podcast before this, and they were like, tell me an interesting story. And I was like, when I got there, a lot of the guys, there was a lot of pressure to win because you're playing with LeBron and Kyrie. You want to take advantage of that. And they got to the finals last year. And as a team, we weren't really excited to play in the regular season. Guys were ready to just go to the finals and or get straight to the playoffs. So there was a time where James Jones said, enough is enough. Like, the playoffs are here. If you're not ready, we're going to leave you behind because this is our goal. And I use this analogy. I've never seen a group of golden retrievers go from that to like dire wolf from Game of Thrones. The click over of intensity, passion, commitment, sacrifice to each other was wild. But I get it why they can't do that during the regular season because our personalities are too intense. It's hard to be around somebody for 82 games, 16 to 18 hours a day, right? To be able to hold somebody accountable the way we did during that run. I think we swept Detroit, swept Indiana or Atlanta, and then lost 2 games to Toronto just because we were bullshitting. But like, right? We literally like didn't take it seriously, and we had to click that back on. But like, for that team to be that intense with all those personalities, it's pretty awesome, pretty amazing to see. I've never seen it done before.
What if you or your business had an idea for a podcast that's never been done before? I can help you out with that. Hit me up at max@maxpodcasting.com to save time with your high-quality podcast. I'll help you out with the 3 Ps, planning, production, and promotion, and bring that high-quality podcast, never-before-heard idea to life. Hit me up at max@maxpodcasting.com. Now, let's get to the grapes. Let's talk about some wine, something that you're dipping your toe into the wine waters a little bit. Chosen Family Wines, your wine company, awesome company, something that's really picking up. And when I first started dating my now fiance Dana, she's a huge wine fan. I barely drank wine. She has since turned me into a big wine fan, and we know from her uncle Michael, who's like a huge wine collector, that the best grapes are from Willamette Valley in Oregon. And they say, well, everybody mispronounces it, but I've heard it's Willamette, damn it. Yeah. Based in Oregon, you get plenty of stuff from Oregon. Such a cool company. Where did this passion for wine for you come from in the first place? Post margarita.
I think, when I was in New York my first 2 years of the league, and then I go to, obviously the Portland Trailblazers. And I met my wife there, and she was like, well, let's go wine tasting during the summer when you get back, right? And so that's what really started going out there, seeing the different vineyards, hearing their different stories, tasting the different grapes, understanding this give and take, not only with the earth, but with the customer or people that are showing up, right? And then when I take people out there, I had the best times. Like I just went to Napa and I'm still getting goosebumps, like seeing these amazing places that I didn't even know could exist, right? Seeing how beautiful the earth is, or the architecture, or the engineering, or hearing the story how somebody got into this industry. So as that evolved, some of my other partners, Jake and Chase owns 20 acres in the Dundee Hills, which is, not to get technical with you, one of the, I would say, the Grand Cru area of the Willamette Valley.
You can get technical.
Okay, sorry. Okay, just checking.
As long as it's technical with wine, other technicalities we'll
Yeah,
stay away
no.
from.
I get semi-technical with wine and still make it make sense. Dundee Hills is not a big area, but has some of the best, most noticeable wines in Oregon and throughout America. And so my buddy, younger guy, I mean, I'm 39, I think he's 36, 37, younger guy, winemaker. I loved his wine. And a good friend of mine, Jake, was their GM and tasting room manager, was like, Chandler, you have to try this. So since 2015, I've been a huge fan of that. He's allowed me to barrel taste with them, go back and forth. I'm just asking him 1,000 questions. So now it went from being a fan of just the experience to a fan of the process, right? And if you had to do something different, what would you do? And then now I'm, when you are sort of in the industry, or sort of like, you've been there many a times, they start to tell you different things because you start to understand it, right? The language is different. So fast forward all this, we start doing one-off bottles for a CCA event, Children's Cancer Association, and him and I get to blend 150 one-off Magnum bottles of that select vineyard, and then I was hooked. I was like, when I'm done playing ball, this is what I want to do. But I need to figure out how to do it correctly, who I'm working with, and how to really challenge myself to move the culture of wine, because wine doesn't really look like me, right, for most parts. And how do I do it where people can trust me, whether I make a $30 wine or a $150 wine? How can you trust me to learn and grow and not be so scared about it? So my last year in Cleveland, Kevin and I sat next to each other and wrote down 1,000 ideas, because Kevin wanted to do it with me, as he is, but obviously he's playing still. So I said, let me start the company. This is what I want to do. Let's work together with ideas and our purpose and our mission, and the culture we want in our business. And we've evolved. It started with collaboration wines, small, like 100-case collaboration wines, to now the end of this year we'll have around 20. We would have had around 22 to 2,500 cases. We make wines that are 24, 32, 35, 60, 75, all over the place. They range in 50. I forgot about Syrah. And our big thing is, and for me especially, is like, you don't want to drink the same wine all the time. And not a lot of people have been to Walla Walla. Not a lot of people have, been to the different AVAs in Napa, right? Not a lot of people have been to Willamette. So for us, we have the opportunity to go there, to learn, to talk to winemakers, and to not only listen to them and to taste with them and to hear them and grow with them, but to showcase them. And for us to use our platform to showcase their wine that they make that we love. So we make a Sonoma Coast Pinot and a Napa Cab, all from one guy, Joe and Phil, Joe Harden and Phil Holbrook, and they have their own labels. So on our upper level wines, there's a stamp of approval from the winemakers that we work with. So if we run out, we are constantly telling their story, because we love that. Like, we want you to support them, which is different in the wine industry. Also, we make a Walla Walla Syrah, 2 Pinot Noirs from Oregon, 2 Pinot Noirs going on, or Chardonnays going on 3 from Oregon, a Sonoma Coast Pinot, a Napa Cab, and a Bubbles. So a Champenois method. That's 4 years in the bottle. Yes, they are twisting it and turning it and doing all these things. And we have all these stories to tell, but we also make, I know this is super long-winded, but you got to get the whole
No.
picture.
I'm thirsty, but I
Yeah.
haven't lost attention.
Yeah, no. Sorry. And then our last things are, we figured our upper level wines are great and amazing, but we want to engage everyone. And I can't say, well, I want to engage everyone if I only make super expensive wines. So I'm trying to make the best wine for $30 as possible. And those will go to, grocery stores. Those are going to go to restaurants and things by the poor. So,
You mentioned variety,
yeah.
and you mentioned lots and lots of different wines and locations, and I think Walla Walla is the greatest name ever. I always like when somebody mentions that, I'm like, it's a real place, huh? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What do you look for in a grape, or I guess future type of wine, if we can call it that speaks to you, and you're like, all right, we want to, let's make this part of the chosen family. Not to be corny.
No. That's why we named it what we named it. I think for us,
to be
it's
sweet,
about,
I think.
yeah, to be nice. Yeah. For us, it's about the winemaker. It's about that story, right? I don't know if there's a varietal that we make that we haven't done the research from the winemaker we're working with, or someone that we're doing a collaboration with at a smaller rate. So for us, if I can't be passionate about that story, we can't make it. And this is the fun part. Whenever we come out with a wine, whether that's Syrah or Bubbles or Napa Cab, we do a big tasting. And everyone brings wines that they like or don't like. And we talk as a group. We blind taste it all. And we talk as a group. What is this? How much is this? Can we make this? Can we tell this story? Who makes it? What part? Because again, it's tough for people to, be able to go to Napa and try all these wines, right? We have a unique opportunity that we do. And so we're like, hey, try this and at least have a formulated and educated opinion of, well, I like it more of this, or I like it less of that. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do the most, is for your money, your hard-earned money, whether that's $15 or $500, for you to know what you want and to value that wine bottle is in the middle of whether that's an important conversation, whether you're celebrating, whether you're mourning, whether you're, whatever, watching basketball, whatever you're doing, that wine bottle is the connector between all of it, if you choose that. And so we feel a responsibility to do the research and encourage and to educate. Man, my nose is itchy.
You didn't read my guidance on the no itchy nose policy for this podcast.
It's like a bug went in my nose.
If your voice sounds a little different for the rest of it, you have an extra buzz in your voice.
Dude, exactly.
Speaking of buzz, we are talking about wine. When you look at turning this from being hooked and a passion to wine to an actual business, what has been the most challenging part so far?
Whew. I think anytime you start a business during a pandemic with 3 people, 4 people who have other jobs also is hard. I think secondly, making sure that I'm the boss, right, per se. There's obviously people who work with us as managing partners, but this is my business. I own the most percent. And so for me, number one, it's our culture of business. What are we doing? How are we doing it? One is the hardest thing to keep consistent, because it'd be easy to jump the broom and make 100,000 cases and sell it real quick. But I want to walk up the hill and make sure that the consistency, some of my favorite wines have been consistently good, whether I love each year, they make consistently good products. And that's what we strive for. And also, secondly, I've never hired a human being in my life. It's always been me. So for me to hire people who are experts at their job, who believe in what we're doing, who, even if they may not be the perfect, they have 10 years experience, if they're the right person, that's all that matters to us. I think also they need to see the vision and understanding that, and finding people right now to see that is also hard. Finding work is hard. And lastly, dude, nothing matters outside, like for me and how basketball was, other than getting the win. And whether that's today, tomorrow, in a week, in a month, nothing matters other than making sure Chosen is within a range of what we set off to be at the beginning, right? You have to have a child's like imagination with this, but you also have some humility because you're gonna you're gonna need experts to help you and give you guidance and take that and make it your own. So learning and being uncomfortable is part of the job, but having people that support you and you support them as much as possible has been awesome in learning, especially as a quote unquote boss.
You can call yourself the boss. We won't kick
Well,
you off.
thank you.
Only because you mentioned Toledo before.
Ah,
But I like that term, childlike imagination. And that's something that, I mean, obviously it helps in the wine industry, but that's something that can help in any line of business you're in. And like that balance or dichotomy, just to throw a fancy word in there, of childlike imagination, but also, humility and somebody to bring you back into like what's feasible and rational as well. On that imagination front, what do you, as quote unquote boss, and your team do to help you brainstorm and stay creative and think of those like out of this world ideas?
well, I think our communication, when you work with other guys, especially friends, you have to over communicate because you might assume. And then, secondly, I would say I'm constantly asking for feedback. Send me a wine that you liked. What is this? What's going on in the old world? Do you like this taste? Send me a picture of this tasting room. Do you like this label? All these things come together and make sense in the long run. But if I'm not listening to what you guys like or what you drink or who you've met that really inspired you to be different or what's happening, like I have to go out, we have to go out constantly and see what's happening within the Willamette Valley. Not because we're trying to copy, but because they should inspire you to constantly be challenged to challenge them, right? It's like, do you want to play against scrubs or you want to play against the best? What is the best doing? Now, how can we do that in our version? And I think for me, when you have an opportunity to work with the winemakers that we do, with the grapes that we do, and the vineyards that we do, you have to make sure that you are representing that in its greatest form. And if you do that, it's going to come around. Good stuff is going to come around. Excuse me. It's less about me and what Channing wants. It's more about how can we represent the opportunities that we have with the people, the land, the city, and the culture. How do we move the culture? Right? Do we want to just do what everyone else does? We're not doing that. It's harder. So we don't have a tasting room. We don't own a vineyard. So we source grapes from everywhere. But we said as a business, if we find something that we absolutely love and need, we have no problem going and getting that. We just have to make sure that it makes sense. Is that where what's best for Chosen at that time? So, it's kind of shocking that we're not following, the regular railroad type way, but we're still moving, and we're making progress. And, as all of us are, small businesses, managing partners, we're all growing and being uncomfortable having to help somebody learn a POS system. What is a TTB? Get this label, get this percentage. Like there's so many things that happen on a daily basis that, you just think, oh, it's put a label on there. No. It's like we have to plan 2-3 years out in advance.
Big picture, like when you think back to your playing career, is there a lesson you learn about teamwork or just kind of
Oh,
achieving success or something that has paralleled like pretty vivid? I've never heard that before. A vivid parallel, like a direct parallel into the wine and business world.
yeah. Who you think you are is not always what the team needs to win, right? So a lot of guys from college, they come in and they are the guys who just dribble, and then they shoot with no understanding of time and score situation or knowing their personnel or the understanding of efficiency. Like, do I need 10 shots, right, to make 20 points, or can I get 20 points on 8, right? So that we're more dangerous. Also, like, don't think that your work is going to just show up tomorrow. You can't run and get in shape on Monday and think, oh, I can run a marathon on Tuesday. It's the constant level of work that's going to show up over a week, a month, a year. So you wanting to just, as the business owner, wanting to like jump in the water and swim across the ocean ain't going to happen. You got to slowly build this boat, make sure it doesn't have holes, come back. If it needs to get bigger, you need to extend it and do that. But you have to be patient, all in the same time, not forgetting that you do want to get across the ocean, right? And sometimes you're going to get pretty far and find out there was something that you missed. Oh man, our rudder's not good enough. You have to turn it back around and find a port and figure it out, whether that's a person, whether that's an idea, whether that's your community of people that are working with you. You got to do what's right to get across that ocean.
I'm digging you're like a metaphor extraordinaire.
Oh, everyone says that. I'm a big
mixed
analogy
nuts
guy.
Yeah, the boat, the rudder. On that note, let's wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A.
Yeah,
you ready for it?
Yeah.
All right, let's get wild. So these are all analogy. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, here we go.
All right, yeah, that's the way the cookie crumbles. Who is the most intimidating player that you've ever played against?
Shaq, Yao Ming, Dirk, and Tim Duncan.
Damn, those guys are big. I mean, no, I wouldn't exactly call you short, but those guys are.
I'm 7 foot, and those guys were dwarfing me. And I mean, it was an honor to play against them. It's like you grow up looking at them, wanting to be them, and now you have to play them at an elite level. Is a different mindset, right?
Now, this could be somebody you played against or somebody you played with. Who do you think in your playing career is the most underrated player you've ever seen?
Oh.
And you can't say Channing Frye.
Oh, no. I'll say, I don't think Tim Duncan gets talked about enough. Like, people have these top 10 lists, and he's barely mentioned, but it's like, you play 20 years and you never win less than 50 games? He's a what? 4-time champion? 3-time champion? Like,
at least. I don't know. Yeah.
Like the greatest power forward of all time. For me to have that opportunity to play against him, like everyone gets their love. Kobe gets their love. Dirk gets love. Bron gets love. I mean, KD, Steph, all these guys get love. And we're just like, oh, just the greatest power forward of all time doesn't get any love or talked about enough for what he did for the game or how dominant he was.
Kevin gets the love as well.
Oh, yeah.
If you could only drink one type of wine for the rest of your life, what would it be?
And I'm not a homer, but it is Pinot Noir for 2 reasons. The range of Pinot Noir can go from Burgundy, because everyone's like, oh, I don't like Pinot Noir, but I like red Burgundy. You're like, what do you think that is, you big dummy? And then Pinot Noir can be in Champagne. Pinot Noir can be rosé. Pinot Noir can be from California, coastal, Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. It reflects the soil and the terroir the best and has the widest range of almost any grape.
And then besides who we've mentioned, who is a guest that you guys had on Road Trippin that completely caught you off guard? Like, oh, wow, like they are fantastic. That was a hell of an episode.
Derrick Rose, actually, was one for me. He's a quiet human being, but I remember playing against him his MVP year, just like, damn, that boy is bad. But he doesn't really do interviews, and to be able to talk to him in length like that and to kind of understand, for him to open up a little bit, I wish we would have had a better time there on that team, but we had some stars on that team, right? It's like I only played half a season with D Wade, but we talk all the time about wine, about basketball, about sports. He's busy. And then Jay Crowder was on that team, Tristan, Richard for a little bit, Bron, Corver, myself, Jeff Green. Like, that was a star-studded, Darren Williams. That was a star-studded team.
Absolutely. It was. And it was a ton of fun. And I'm throwing in a bonus question here. What's your favorite analogy of all time?
When in Rome.
Perfect. All right. The wine's not half bad there as well. Awesome.
No. Well, God, no.
Channing, this has been awesome. Really, really cool chatting with you. Of course. Thanks so much for coming on and all you do and, lighten up Cleveland like Vegas. No one's ever said that, but no, I'm just kidding. No, but...
Oh, we definitely lit it up a couple times.
Yeah, absolutely. go Cavs, go road tripping, go Chosen Family Wines. I think it's chosenfamilywines.com, correct?
Yep. And then there are a couple places to get it actually in Cleveland. Pizza place Il Rione's, and then another place called Dante's. But yeah, getting it off our website. We have memberships available now, which is a lot harder than people assume, and then we're always follow us on Chosen Family Wines on Instagram. Reach out to us, and let us know what you need and what you don't, and communicate with us. There's only 4 owners, partners, and employees, so we are that group that is starting small and trying to scale, as my son is. Stop yelling, boy.
Special guest appearance. Perfect. So Chosen Family Wines, definitely check out Road Trippin'. It's amazing. I've got my fiance Dana Hook now as well. Channing Frye on social media is, I'll call you, somewhat entertaining.
I appreciate it. I've been more present with my kids. I'm gonna get it back going.
Perfect. I want to shout out my buddies Mark, Cam, and John, who growing up in Cleveland, we watched like almost every one of those big Cavs games together and the playoff runs. And so they also helped out to provide some of these questions for this interview.
I love
those guys
Appreciate
as well.
It.
Thanks again. Go Cleveland everything. And last thing, final thought, stage is yours. It could be a quote, a line, whatever you want. Another metaphor, maybe another Italian city. Send us home here.
I'll say this. I think during these times, a lot of times we have our head down and don't really look up and we're not present. But even if you're on the prettiest hike and you don't have your head down, you're not going to enjoy the process. So enjoy the process. Enjoy the time that you have with the people that are your loved ones. And chosen family is chosen family because it doesn't always have to be your family. It can be people that are going to hold you accountable, who are going to love on you when you need to be loved on, and people that you can belly laugh with and enjoy life. So hopefully chosen family could be at the middle of that table. But if not, I hope it's the wine that you love or the drink that you love, water, juice, soda, lemon, perfect, who knows?
Perfect. And if you never look up, you might think you got to stop Spates from getting a rebound.
Exactly. I was like, get the rebound. Oh, we're down 4. Okay, awesome. Yeah, we just won.
Channing the Man Frye. Thank you so much, Channing, for coming on the podcast, for all you've done for the city of Cleveland, for the city of podcasting, we'll call it, that championship run, and of course, the wine world. Thank you so much, wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. If you want to hear more wild stories like this one, make sure to follow the Wild Business Growth Podcast on your favorite app and tell a friend about the podcast. You can also enjoy this alongside Road Trip and just alternate every episode with them while drinking Chosen Family Wines and watching NBA basketball, particularly the 2016 Cavaliers highlights. I'm going off on a tangent here, but anyway, thank you very much. You can also find us on Good Pods, where there are fantastic podcasts from all around the world. And for any help with podcast production, you can learn more at MaxPodcasting.com. Until next time, or until next Fry, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!